Welcome to your real estate market update for August 2024. And for the past several months, it's almost felt as though we've been stuck in neutral, so to speak, with not much changing with regards to the numbers or trends month over month. But all of that changed last week when mortgage rates unexpectedly tumbled on the back of weaker than expected economic news. So in this real estate market update for August, I'm going to explain how this is likely to impact you if you're considering buying or selling a home. And I'm also going to look at how home prices could be affected. Now, I'll close out the report by giving you additional information and sharing some of the latest market trends here in Frisco. Now, even if you're not in Frisco, I invite you to stick around as I'm going to show you exactly how to get the same information for the city or zip code most of interest to you. Hi, this is Andrew with the Andrew Smith team, eXp Realty here in Frisco, Texas. And mortgage rates have certainly been the dominant story. I mean, as I just mentioned, we've almost been stuck in neutral. And one of the things about that is you'll probably recall it's been, what, at least 18 months now, that the forecasts have been for mortgage rates to fall and that they would come down. And they flat out haven't. In fact, they went back up again. And now, for the first time, mortgage rates took a big tumble. It was unexpected. And as I mentioned, it came on the back of some weaker than expected economic news. The jobs report came out, which was weaker than expected. The unemployment rate rose, and it sent the stock market into a bit of a panic, if you like, and caused some sell-off, most of which has recovered. But as people fled into bonds, mortgage rates went down. So will that trend continue? And how exactly does that impact you? Well, let me show you. All right, so what we're looking at here is what happened to mortgage rates, as I mentioned, in just the last week or so. Now, as you can see, if we go back just towards the middle of April, mortgage rates were at 7.52%. We come here and mortgage rates dropped. They dropped substantially all the way down to 6.4% on the back of that economic news. So that was a big change, and it is one that wasn't entirely expected. Most of the forecasts out there were talking about rates right around 6.5 or so, hopefully by the end of the year. And now here we are at 6.4 officially, although I do know of a couple of people that got locked in within the last couple of days at 6.25. So better rates are definitely out there. And here's why that is so important. So this right here that you're looking at, this is an analysis that was done over the past couple of years on how does changing mortgage rates impact buyer demand. And as we look at it, as you know, demand is one half of the equation when it comes to home prices, with the other being supply, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. But you can see that what you're looking at, goes all the way back to January. And for the vast majority, well, the entire year, except for the past week, we have been in the limited to weak buyer demand area of this chart. It's only right here at the very end, when rates dropped below 6.5%, that we got into the good buyer demand range. And strong buyer demand seems to exist when rates get below 6%. Now, again, this was taken by looking at the past 2.5 years of buyer activity as the rates moved. So that is what this is comprised of. And we know, with home prices remaining much higher than expected, that affordability has been a huge problem. And one of the aspects of affordability is those mortgage rates. So take a look at this. This is what the drop in mortgage rates from the end of April to now means. If we look at a $500,000 loan amount, you can see that your monthly mortgage payment, when rates were 7.52 the end of April, to now, that monthly mortgage payment fell $375 a month. That is a significant change. And as those rates continue to moderate, which they are expected to, then that is going to really help with affordability. But as I just mentioned, mortgage rates are only part of it when it comes to the affordability. So, what about home prices? I mean, after all, we've been hearing that home prices were going to tumble for a long time now, and it just flat out hasn't happened. And the reason for that is supply. It's great that demand is down, but in order for prices to fall, supply needs to come down as well. And it simply hasn't been there. Many of the people that own a home currently, they're just flat out not selling. And you've all heard the reports on the media. Inventory's up, inventory's up, inventory's up. And it is, but depending upon where in the country you are, it has not risen enough to significantly cause an oversupply situation. Now, when we look specifically at home prices, the latest forecast for the rest of this year and 2025 have just come out, which I'll go through in just a second. But based upon the latest information, right now, the expert forecasts lean towards a moderation in home price growth over the next 5 years. This translates to a slower and more sustainable pace of appreciation compared to the breakneck speed witnessed in recent years, rather than a free fall in prices. Now, if you've happened to see any of the other videos I've been putting out over the past few months, you'll know I've been saying this is exactly what the data has been showing us. If we look at the leading indicators, those are what I'm going to get to at the end of this video and show you exactly which ones to look at, you can get a sense of where home prices are going to be heading. So based on this, here's the latest revision as of August 5th on what home prices are going to do in 2024. And as you can see, Freddie Mac is down there, forecasting that prices are going to be relatively flat. But the important thing to know here is all of the bars are green, indicating that all of the forecasts indicate that we are going to end 2024 with prices still going up, still showing price appreciation. When you average all of those together, you get 3.1% appreciation for the year. But what about next year? I mean, after all, we have the election and, we've got, how is that going to impact it? What's going to happen there? Well, here's what the latest forecast says. So again, now Moody's and Freddie Mac are still the ones showing that they expect prices to be relatively flat, but everybody else is showing price appreciation to continue all the way through 2025. And when you average all of these together, they're looking at about 2.7% home price appreciation for the entire year. So considering none of the forecasts are indicating that prices are going to go down for the rest of this year or next year, if you're considering buying, what is it that you should do? And again, only you can make the decision that is best for you. But one thing to keep in mind is what Bankrate had to say here. If you're ready to buy, now might be the time to strike. Home prices have been rising primarily because of a long-standing shortage of homes for sale, and that's unlikely to change. And if mortgage rates do fall below 6%, it's possible buyers would enter the market en masse, further pushing up prices and resurrecting bidding wars. Now, I'm not ready to turn around and say, I think we're going to be seeing bidding wars, anything like we saw a couple of years ago, anytime in the foreseeable future. But if you go back to that buyer demand graph I showed right at the beginning, when rates get down near 6%, buyer demand has been good. It's been very, very strong. So theoretically, right now, there is an opportunity in the marketplace. I'm seeing it here in Frisco. You've got homes that are taking a bit longer to sell. You've got mortgage rates that are trending down. Inventory, which I'm going to show you more about in just a minute, is high enough that you've got the new home builders and you've got sellers more willing to negotiate than they have been in years. If the buyers start to come back, and I've already seen an uptick on the number of showings that we're getting on the homes I have up for sale, if those buyers start to come back as the rates come down, then you will more than likely see additional price appreciation. And here in Frisco and our local markets, I could easily see us outpacing what they're forecasting as the national average. But overall, it's important to remember, as Lance Lambert says, that even if average national home price forecast for 2025 is correct, it's possible that some regional housing markets could see mild home price declines. And while some markets could still see elevated appreciation, that has been, after all, the case this year. So basically, it's just his way of saying that all real estate is, in fact, local. Now, that's something that we've talked about in the past. I mean, the national information is great, but it doesn't necessarily tell you what's going on in your local market. And not only that, markets can vary within localities. So here in the greater DFW area, I mean, what we're experiencing here in Frisco and Prosper and Salina could be very different than what they're experiencing on the south side of Dallas or further west towards Fort Worth. It's very, very different in those different areas, which is why it's so important to keep a good idea on what is going on specifically in your local market. And here's exactly how you do that. All right, what we're looking at here is from my weekly market report. Now, this data is refreshed each and every week. It is always fresh. It is always current. And if you scroll to the very top of this report, right here, there's a search bar. Now, you can put any city or zip code in the entire country into this search field right here, and you are going to get the exact same report with the exact same data to kind of give you an idea of what's going on in a snapshot, both here and here. But there's three areas that I pay attention to pretty close. And the first one is inventory. Now, on this inventory chart that you're looking at here, we're going all the way back into 2019. And as you can see, compared to, late 2020 all the way through, do we have more inventory now? Yep, we sure do. Those are the more homes on the market I was just telling you about. Those are the opportunities that exist in the marketplace today. But if I go back, draw a line right about here, we still don't have as much inventory as we did in late 2019, beginning of 2020. So while the inventory is up and it's higher than anything that we have seen in recent years, it is not unprecedented, the amount of homes that we have for sale here whatsoever. And it is why you have not seen prices do any sort of meaningful declines, at least here in our local market. As a matter of fact, on the far right side of the chart here, you can't really tell the way this line is showing, but the amount of inventory is actually starting to turn. The number of new listings coming on the market is slowing down, and that is turning. So you're not going to be seeing continual inventory growth, at least here locally, based on all of the trends that I'm looking at right now, which tells you that pricing locally is not likely to do anything drastic or severe with regards to going down. Now, the other two items that I like to look at first and foremost is the median list price. So why list prices? Well, list prices give you a good idea of what's going on in the market currently. Most of the people listing their homes for sale now want to sell. They're not just putting their home out there to test the market. And there's something that is interesting here. The median list price, which ebbs and flows all year, it goes up through the spring, starts to plateau, dips again, it dropped down, and now over the last 2 weeks, it's actually trended back up again slightly. What does that mean? Not a lot. It's 1 week's worth of data. I'm more interested in the overall trend, right? So right here, you see that the median list price is actually holding. This is the 90-day trend line. It's not plummeting by any means. This is a very normal year-over-year curve that we always see. But the fact that prices are starting to trend up a little bit when you couple it with the last data point that I like to look at, which is properties with price decreases. So if someone puts their home on the market and it doesn't sell, what do they usually do? They cut the price. So the more properties with price decreases can start to show potentially some weakness in the market. So if you have increasing price decreases, that's a tongue twister, isn't it? And you also have a falling median list price that's falling more than just a seasonal norm, that's an indication of future weakness with regards to home prices. That's not what we're seeing here. And I know the Zoom is right in the way, but if you look the end of July, the 7-day average was 58% of homes taking a price cut. We're still at 58% of homes taking a price cut. This has flattened out. And in fact, there's another report that I look at that actually shows it's starting to turn down just slightly. So now all of a sudden you've got price decreases are starting to decline, and you've got list prices are holding steady, if not increasing slightly. That is showing price stability and strength in our local market. So overall, based on everything that I'm seeing right now, it doesn't look as though we're going to see anything dramatic. I know there's a lot of uncertainty, especially with the election, especially with the economy. People are unsure what to do. I can tell you that if you look at past presidential elections, for the most part, in fact, in 9 of the last 11, home prices and home sales go up in the year following. So the question now becomes is if you're a seller and you've got nothing pressing, forcing you to sell right now, then there's no harm, no foul in waiting. You can wait until the busyness of spring, see what happens. Chances are mortgage rates are going to be lower if the current trends continue, and you might get a little bit more money for your home. But there could also be more sellers come to the market as the people that have been wanting to sell and move but haven't been due to the higher mortgage rates, those homeowners could start to come back. With regards to if you're planning on buying, everyone's situation is different. What I do know is that there's more opportunity in the marketplace now than I have seen in quite a long time. Sellers are more negotiable, the builders are more negotiable, and if rates do in fact continue to trend down, which is the expectation, then it's always a possibility that that mortgage could be refinanced at a later date. So again, hopefully this information helps make a little bit of sense of what's going on in the real estate market right now. If you have additional questions or you'd like additional information, then I invite you to reach out. In the description below, there's a link to my calendar. At any time, you can book a 30-minute call with me. There's absolutely no obligation. I'd be more than happy to talk through your situation in more detail and help provide you some additional insights and information so that you can make the decision that is best for you and your family. Now make sure you don't go anywhere because I know you're going to enjoy one of these videos coming up next.